Okay. All right. So hello, welcome everybody. Um, we are going to get started now. I'm sorry for the late start. I want to welcome all of you to the Cultural Humility webinar series. It was created by us, the Georgia Rim Mental Health Alliance. My name is Valentina Parlatisi. I'm a graduate research assistant currently working with the MHA. And we are a collaborative that aims to expand mental health services for refugee, immigrant, and migrant communities across Georgia. We created the series to promote conversation and inform our mental health professionals and staff. It's important to understand that cultural humility is kind of a lifelong process of self-reflection, but a big step in that is a willingness to actively listen to and learn from each other's life experiences. And by being here today, you're all taking that really important step. Today, our country of focus is Haiti. We're going to begin with an introductory presentation to give us some context and background on the nation, and then we'll introduce our expert panel. Go ahead to the next slide, Dr. Lekind. So I'm going to start by saying that I've done a few of these webinars. I've done all of them of this year, and even one on my own country of birth. But of all the countries that I've covered, I really fell in love with Haiti. Its culture, its fascinating history, these picturesque mountain ranges, incredible historical sites, pictures of food that I really, really want to try. And I thoroughly enjoyed learning about this nation and its people. So Haiti is located in the Caribbean Sea, approximately 50 miles east of Cuba. It includes the western side of the island of Hispaniola and many smaller islands, including Tortuga and Vache. It's bordered on the east by the Dominican Republic, and its capital is Port-au-Prince. Haiti has a population of over 12 million people, most of whom are direct descendants of African slaves from French colonial rule in the 1700s and 1800s. Haiti was the second country in the Americas to gain independence from colonial rule, the US being the first. Haitians have a really rich and unique culture. It's vibrant art, full of color and life, and a deep love of music, dance, and storytelling. One of the most interesting traditions that I encountered in my research was the oral traditions that include storytelling and riddles. It's sometimes referred to as crick crack. So the way it goes is that the storyteller will say crick, and those around him will reply crack, and the riddles or the storytelling will begin. Many of the stories impart wisdom, values, and morals that are important to the community. And next slide, please. Okay, so here I have some of the images that I fell in love with, as I mentioned before. They capture some of the beautiful sights in Haiti. In the middle, you have the Citadel. It's a 19th century fortress that holds the remains of Henry Christophe, a famous military leader in the Haitian Revolutionary Army. And there are countless other historical sites to visit in Haiti, as well as beautiful beaches, natural waterfalls, caves, and grottos. It's really very beautiful. Okay, go ahead to the next slide. Okay, so in the previous webinars, I've included a timeline of very specific historical events that have led to nations in crisis and displacement of thousands. But Haiti is very unique. It's not just war and political upheaval that's led to its struggles, although it's had and continues to have its fair share of both. What was a hugely prosperous colony under French rule should have been an equally prosperous independent nation and a kind of monument to the power of the enslaved in rising against the tide and demanding and then gaining their freedom. But Haiti was a threat to nations of slaveholders who had worked to suppress their economic growth by limiting their ability to trade and build wealth as a young free nation, the first ever to abolish slavery. They were forced to pay reparations of 150 million francs to French slaveholders in order to keep their independence. That amount was 30 times their annual revenue and a debt that would take 100 years to repay. Um, Haiti has also suffered from devastating environmental events that have continuously battered an already delicate infrastructure. Years of deforestation that began during the colonial period and has continued to intensify due to rapid population growth and a dependency on charcoal have also caused a significant harm and made the nation even more vulnerable to landslides and flooding, the effects of earthquakes and hurricanes that have devastated Haiti again and again. The fragile infrastructure has struggled to rebuild after each event, and deepening the stress on an already burdened people. Then in 2010, Haiti suffered from an outbreak of cholera that killed thousands and recently reemerged as of 2022 after 3 years of reporting 0 cases. All right, go ahead to the next slide. Okay, so today Haiti is struggling under the weight of intense militia and gang violence that's grown immensely since the assassination of their president. I believe that was in 2021. Recently, the prime minister has agreed, who took power after the assassination, has agreed to resign after years of postponing elections. But rates of violence, kidnapping, and rape have continued to increase, and hunger has become widespread. You can see here some of the, on the left, some of the major headlines coming out of Haiti in just the last few days. And a 2023 UN report stated that 60% of Haitians are living below the poverty line and suffering catastrophic rates of hunger. Okay. All right, next. So thank you so much for listening. I'm going to hand it over to our moderator for the panel discussion, Dr. Davi Lakind. She is an assistant professor at Mercer University College of Health Professions in the Department of Clinical Psychology. She's also the clinical supervisor of the mental health counselors at the Georgia Mental Health Alliance. Go ahead, Dr. Lakind.
Thank you, Belle. Okay, it is my pleasure to introduce all of our panelists.
Your profile picture on the Zoom.
And I don't have, because I'm sharing my screen, I don't have everybody's full bios in front of me. And so we'll learn more about folks as we go along. So joining us today, we have Ronald Satut, the president of the Haitian-American Chamber of Commerce. Joël Laguerre, the professor of Haitian Creole at the University of Kansas. We have Astrid Prudent, the assistant project director for Georgia State University's Center of Excellence for Children's Behavioral Health. Anne Celestin, the medical school, a medical school graduate and Clarkson Community Center intern. Natalie D. Ellis, who is a licensed counselor with Esteem Counseling. Naika DeJus, who is a mental health counselor with the International Committee, and Matthew Genius with Beachstone Counseling. And we are very excited to learn from this really wonderful panel. And I think this is going to be a really wonderful conversation. Should I go ahead and stop sharing my screen now and we can jump into the conversation?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Great. One moment, please. I just want to make sure to close things. Again, I mentioned before, I have not great internet at my house, and so I want to manage whatever's open so I can try my best to stay online for everybody. All right. Let's see. Okay, so I have a handful of different questions, and they're not going to be directed at any panelist in particular. And so for the panelists, please just jump in as you will. And as I said, let's just let this be a free-flowing conversation as much as you'd like it to be. So we're going to be talking about a lot of different things, but there will be a focus on mental health. And so the first question is, what are the attitudes and beliefs about mental health that healthcare providers and social service agency staff may come across in interactions with Haitian refugees and migrants?
Is that for any of us to respond
Yes,
to?
anybody can jump in.
Okay, let me let me thank you again for having us as a panel. And I find the first question to be rather interesting, appropriate, and I think helpful for Americans who are going to deal with Haitians with mental health issues. The first thing is that for us, there's a stigma attached to mental health. Whenever we hear mental health, you can also hear crazy next to it. And so, and if you're crazy, then you're outcast, you are put away, and what have you. And so we have the extreme really of mental health is what we know. The whole array of issues with mental health, we don't understand. We don't understand it. It's not shared. It's not valued. It's not taboo, or it's taboo. It's not something that people really attach to. So you can have people dealing with anguish and sorrow and all of that that's never really talked about. So I think the belief is the first thing that you run into, and being aware of how it may be viewed, and probably having an appropriate terminology to use for it, I think is good. Luckily, you probably have a lot of people who speak Haitian Creole that you'll be dealing with. And instead of using the terms that we use in English that could be stigmatized, you can use it. You can use something that's less than that. Now, I'm not ready to offer what that is, but I think it's a good thing to be aware of.
Hi, everyone. Honored to be here. And like Dejao mentioned, the stigma for sure, and just being labeled as crazy, and then the social component, how society will view you for seeking services, right? And then I believe there's cultural interpretations of symptoms, and also there's that religious and spiritual beliefs as well. With the cultural interpretations, many times when you see um, individuals, they're not going to express any emotional distress. A lot of time it will come forth as like a physical symptoms or a physical complaint. So you're not going to hear someone expressing how sad they are or feeling overwhelmed or feeling restless, but it's going to come forth as, oh, I have a headache. I'm experiencing hair loss, or I have high blood pressure. So something to keep in mind. And also with the religious and spiritual beliefs, um, many Haitians, they integrate their religious and spiritual beliefs into understanding mental health. So with any mental health issues, it might cause like a spiritual disturbance, and they will rather seek like a spiritual leader than a medical provider.
Thanks so much. So I think what both of you are highlighting, which is so important, is understanding the ways in which mental health and distress might be kind of perceived and understood, should lead to some really kind of thoughtful, intentional choices around the language that you use and the ways in which you ask if people are in distress. Because if you ask about, if first of all, you need to know to ask for more of the physical piece of things that might indicate stress or distress. You just have to be aware of how much stigma is attached to mental health difficulties and the concerns about somebody being crazy and kind of like an ill fit for society, and how catastrophic it might be to admit to any distress. And so to be really, really gentle and thoughtful. And I think what you said, Dr. Laguerre, also about thinking about language that can map on to the language that Haitian clients or patients might use themselves, and perhaps relying on the language in Haitian Creole as opposed to trying to map clinical English terms might be really useful. Yeah. Any other perspectives on this from other panelists?
Yeah, this is Natalie. So absolutely. And I work primarily with the African-American population and African population. Of course, I have Haitian clients as well. And so this is mental health, and the stigma surrounding mental health is strong, you know? And so my education, when I do psychoeducation with clients, particularly when that is not something that they're open to at the beginning, is bring up the physical health issues, right? Because they are coming in with physical health. They're able to explain that, right? We have strong understanding of the physical issues and the physical health. So I start from that perspective. And from that perspective, helping them understand how their experiences, their traumas, or different things that they don't necessarily identify as such, right? And so just basically talking about their experiences as they're telling their story, then it's about, well, maybe how does this story affect you, right? And again, bringing in the physical aspects of it and how physical health impacts mental health and how mental health impacts physical health, and it's all one. And then spiritual health, right? Because it's understanding the whole body. And my approach is really helping people see the whole self, and can't have one without the other. And so as you start from where they're at, and like you said, the physical piece, physical symptoms is something that people understand, and helping them see when there's unresolved other things, then it leads to the physical piece. But that's a place to start. So absolutely. And the stigma is a big thing. And with stigma brings silence, right? And then of course with stigma brings shame. There's shame as well. And so there's a lot of shame surrounding all of this. And of course with shame, there's a lot of silence surrounding it. And so it's really helping people get get them where they're at, and try to eliminate a lot of that shame to get them to open up so that we could get to the other stuff. Right.
Right.
So so we have, as mental health therapists, we definitely have a lot of work to do to really be open to people and really help them to open up back so we could get to where we need to get to. Absolutely.
Right. So some of that language choice is starting with what they're telling you.
Mhm.
And that's the physical side. And then helping with that integration piece, that it really is, it's body, it's mind, it's spiritual, it's soul. And that might be a way to make it meaningful for your client. Matt, you were going to pipe in.
Yes, I was. Matt Genius, licensed marriage and family therapist. I had the opportunity in 2010 to work with some of the refugees from Haiti after the earthquake. And that was such a rich experience for me. I had just graduated from a master's program at Nova Southeastern University. And being so green, I went in there with a lot of bias. Even though I am Haitian, my parents didn't allow us to go to Haiti when we were younger. So the experiences of understanding the island and a lot of the cultural differences weren't afforded to me. And so one of the things that I realized quickly was that I was misjudging their grief. What I mean by that is they were grieving being on the island, and I couldn't understand why. I'm like, in my mind, I was asking myself, what are you trying to get back to? It was just the earthquake there, and the conditions aren't, all the things that are pumped out in the media based on, what stories are presented in front of us. And so my bias was very present. And what they were telling me is that there isn't a definite understanding that they can give, but it's home for them. Lakai is the word, right? And that has an essence for them that's different from what they experience here. The way we gather here in the States versus the way they gather there, the way they, all of the slight differences made a huge difference in how they grieve being on the island. Even though they were safer here, they may have been safer here, but there was something that was still desired for them to go back home. And I think what I did was I was thinking, you're in the land of opportunities, but we'll think, why are you looking backwards? And for the most part, I think if we carry that, then we can't really meet them where they are and understand how to help them process their grief and give them hope of returning, not just healthier in mind, but healthier as a collective. And so that was just one piece.
I really appreciate that. But I was just gonna say real quick, I see Ronald ready to jump in. And that's so meaningful to hear your own kind of personal experience and the way in which, you know, you had been and raised and how you had kind of first encountered the actual place of Haiti. So as folks pipe up, particularly since I gave really short intros, if you can share just a tiny bit about your stories, that would be wonderful. And then please share your perspectives on this question. Okay, Ronald, please go ahead.
Sure, no problem. And thank you all for having me here and for really putting this very important occasion together for to really inform and bring some good information to the community at large. Ronald Satut, Georgia Haitian-American Chamber of Commerce. Guess a little background is I am originally from, so I'm actually first generation Haitian-American. And so I grew up in Little Haiti in Miami, which is a prominent Haitian community down in Miami. And so my experience has been pretty much, even when it comes to my family, a lot of what I've dealt with has been with a lot of my family who is immigrating over from, or the community that's really coming directly from Haiti, and how we're interacting as a community and adjusting here in the US. And then, of course, moving here to Atlanta, I went to college in Tallahassee, Florida, at Florida A&M. There I was, even there was a little bit of a culture shock for me to a degree, because I had to now make the difference between from being in Florida, where we were just Haitian, to now identifying myself as Black or African American. So there was now a new identity for me, where I was no longer just Haitian, I was now African American in the eyes of a lot of people at large, right? And then coming to Georgia, there was also a different dynamic too, because now you're dealing with a whole different cultural aspect in the sense of, I started to understand why they say South Florida wasn't really the South. But when you get down to South Georgia and North Florida, there was a different culture in that aspect, in the sense of not really much diversity when it comes to ethnicities and people coming from different countries. And so I'm just diving back to the question. I did just want to throw in that I think Dr. Laguerre and Aika and Natalie and Matt, I mean, they pretty much nailed everything as far as answering that question. I don't think I have anything to add to it. The only other thing I just wanted to add was mainly that from what we see a lot too, is that mental health is really still kind of a new term in the sense of really being out there to the masses, right? A lot of people weren't really thinking about it in that sense. So you still have that aspect of people understanding, what that is, right? Versus, thinking, somebody's mental, and you're really talking about somebody who may be to the extreme of having some kind of medical condition. And so that's the way a lot of people generally view mental health. So even when you're talking about the Caribbean or Haitian people, that's not something to a degree that they're really, as Nahika and Dr. Laguerre alluded to, that they're really thinking about to a degree, because it probably doesn't apply to them. They don't want to seem, to them, they're probably thinking, well, that's mental health is like when you're talking about somebody crazy, as as they would see it, right? But somebody that really has a severe mental issue that's very noticeable. But we don't think about it on a level individually as a person that we have to worry about in the sense of, what does that look like? How do I check my mental health? So it's not something that a lot of Haitians, or I'd say people at large to a degree, understand that applies to them. So I think now that it's getting out, we're starting to see a lot more people consider it. I've seen that with a lot of the mainly the younger generation in Haiti, where they're really seeking out therapists. That was a bit of a surprise to me, which it was a good thing, because they're, especially dealing with everything that's going on in the country. I started noticing a lot of these entrepreneurs that I work with in Haiti, they're seeking out therapists and people to help them through the hard times, which from what I noticed with the older generation, that wasn't something that was really, they thought of as an option on a large scale. So I will say that, and maybe that, I hope I'm not answering a question that's in the future, but that is a trend that I'm seeing now. You do see a lot of younger Haitians that are now seeking that out, but I think it's mainly because that education aspect of them knowing what mental health is, and that these services are here. It's not just for people who've been diagnosed with something that really need to consider looking at what their mental health status is. So just wanted to add that to everything else.
Thank you. Do any other panelists wanna,
I want to have something.
please?
Yes. So my name is Anne Celestine. I am a medical graduate and I'm actually doing my master in public health at Georgia State University. And I'm also doing an internship with the Clarkson Community Center. I moved here in 2020 when things really got bad, you know, and from someone that I experienced both the earthquake and the like insecurity and everything, I can say that there's a fear of weakness also. Because for me, when I moved here, I was like, okay, I'm here to be safe. I'm here to like get a better life from what I've got in Haiti. But it was like, okay, I know I'm getting depressed from all the situation I'm dealing with right now, but I don't want to feel like weak because I'm here to get things done. I want to feel strong. So this is also something that might stop them from talking about their mental health, even if they know they have understanding of what mental health condition is, because as a medical graduate, I know what it is, but I will still be like reluctant to talk about it because when I'm here for a better life. And I want to feel strong because of all the background that I had back home. So that's what I want to have.
Yeah, that's such a helpful perspective that there are parts of not just being Haitian, but being a Haitian person in the US, having come here, you know, to make a better life, to be safe, where it feels like, you know, the mental health difficulties, maybe they're a distraction, maybe they're like a weakness that, you know, like you don't have time for that. You just gotta like keep it moving, keep working towards your goals here. That's a really critical perspective. Thanks so much. And Matt, I see your hand up. Please go ahead.
Yes, you know, that's the conversation of resilience, the one that being from South Florida, like Ronald, we saw a lot of it growing up, where our parents came into this land as being resilient, and that as a source of pride for them to be able to just power through. They have this expression in Creole where they say "Mare Sensio," right? And that means like tighten up, in other words, and keep on going. And I think we wear this resilience with such an honor and such a pride when there are two aspects of resilience and the other aspect sometimes is minimized. The other aspects of resilience that we don't have a chance to really parse out is trauma, right? Trauma has everything to do with resilience. For a person to then call themselves resilient is to say that I've bounced back from a very traumatic situation. And so if we are going to hold on to that resilient identity as a Haitian people, then we also have to address the traumatic experiences that causes us to then have to keep continuously showing up as resilient. We have to keep on bouncing back. When you look at the historical context that was presented when we first got started, you can see devastation after devastation, whether it's political, economic, and so we have to keep bouncing back. So when you think about addressing a Haitian population, we have to also honor the fact that we are resilient, but also address the post-traumatic stress that comes with having to be resilient. You know, so it's both and, in my opinion. So thank you for that point, Han. Thank you.
Right, right. That there's it's so tricky when it feels like you can't kind of make space to be vulnerable, which is kind of necessary if you're going to be addressing mental health difficulties or distress or all of the fallout from trauma and displacement and all the downstream consequences of post-colonial oppression that continues in various manifestations. And so, right, how do you kind of like try to how to square the circle almost and say, you know, we are resilient and let's leverage that to take care of ourselves, as opposed to like that's the reason to kind of like push it down and never talk about it and never acknowledge it. I see a hand up from an audience member, Eve Joseph. Do you want to add something?
Yes, I'm Eve Joseph. I am a registered nurse supervisor with the DeKalb County Board of Health. I come from a background in Florida working with maternal child health, where we find a lot of trauma. And with the Haitian community, being born and raised in Haiti for the first 20 years of my life, I didn't even know about the mental health word was a part of our vocabulary. So it was two things. It was either you sane or you crazy. There was never nothing in between. And by working, because right now I work with the Haitian refugee that come here to the United States in the DeKalb County, and it's still nothing has changed. They only understand those two words, whether I'm saying, oh, I'm crazy. So the way that I approached it as a registered nurse, because I still have to do the assessment, the way that I approached it on the stress, because the word stress, they understand, but they do not make the relation between stress and mental health. And we kind of have to be very careful with that, because the people that we serve here with the refugee department, they've seen a lot. And if you take a time to talk to them about it, what they've been through, crossing the border, coming here, the thing that they've seen, anybody would be affected by it. But unfortunately, when I see them, that's when they start having symptoms, because nobody took the time to talk to them about it. So we kind of like, I come in with an open mind and trying to educate the nurses that I work with to kind of dig a little deeper, make them comfortable and talk to them with a language that they understand, and try not to use like big words that have anything to do with a mental health diagnosis, because that's when they lose them. And empathy basically is where we start with, letting them know, understand, then they probably will seek treatment and realize there is something going on in there. But we cannot go with the full force of like mental health, because they will basically tell you, I'm not crazy. So we just need to be aware of it and come with like, with a little softer approach.
Right, thanks so much. Yeah, it's so interesting. Obviously, you know, these cultural humility webinars are all about really making sure that we're being specific and nuanced in our understanding of the barriers that different communities face to receiving high quality mental health services, and the different stressors that they experience. And that's so important. And also, I can't help but notice some cross-cutting themes from other conversations that I've been a part of that are not specific to Haitians or to Haitian Americans and Haitian refugees. And so I think it's the case for many communities that the language of mental health is very and alienating, and I've heard folks from several different other communities also talk about this strategy of using language around stress instead. So I think it's really helpful to think about what we really need to nail that's super specific, and also the things that might be applicable to a variety, particularly of a variety of communities of people who have experienced systemic oppression, who are here navigating a ton of very understandably stressful situations, and the ways in which that might be a way in to provide this this really necessary emotional support. And also the same feeling of like you know, right, like you're either sane or you're crazy. And other folks on the panel have already said that. And like the mental health piece really only pertains to like extreme presentations. It's not really much of a spectrum perspective. It's not really much about the very many ways in which people might experience distress or express distress. I saw another hand up.
Yeah, that was me. Let me see if I can put my, yes. Hi, my name is Dr. Ruza. I'm the Director of Infectious Disease and Refugee Health at DeKalb Public Health, and I work with Ms. Yvette. What I wanted to say was that another, I think, part that I think we don't really talk about, I think with the Haitian community, is a lot of them will think that, from my experience, I'm from Haiti, came here when I was 16, so grew up in Haiti. I mean, went to school here, is the fact that they will think that they know whatever a mental health provider will tell them that they already know, because you already know your issue. And I think, just kind of to echo what a lot of people have said in the panel, is that they're so focused on survival, right? And I think what Ms. Joseph proposed with coming through with wording it as stress and focusing on that, I think from my experience has been a way to kind of make waves with people from the Haitian community when talking about mental health. But yeah, just them thinking we have issues because we've been focused on survival so much in Haiti. If you're eating and you're drinking and you have like a roof over your head, like what else do you need? So because they focus so much on that, like mental health is really not a priority for them at the moment. So bringing it as stress and how it affects your health, both physically and mentally, I think is a good way to start the conversation.
Dr. Lagore, go ahead. Oh, you're still on mute, sir.
There's a point that I believe Ms. just made, which is the involvement, the way that they see the religious aspect, the treatment aspect, religious treatment aspect of mental health. That's really, really key. So partnerships with the faith community, I believe, is for mental health professionals is really, really key. Believe it or not, Haitians are extremely religious. They believe so much in divine power, and so where you can combine, where you can help even the faith leaders to understand the issues and help them to seek support that they may need, is something that we should not overlook at all. I thought that was a good point that was made. But I think it looks to me that everybody who's speaking really is very well aware of the issues, and regardless of how many years it's been that since you left Haiti, it hasn't changed from a mental health perspective, and don't see that it is going to change anytime soon, except again with mentioning stress, as somebody talked about. They have queeralized the word stress. They talk about it. They know it. They have accepted that stress is there. So where you can capitalize on that term itself, I think it's going to help tremendously, in addition to whatever one can do to associate, to use what they have as a background, which is the faith aspect of it, I think can help. But it's also, I mean, we all know it's also pretty tough tribe. We are tough people. and to some extent that helps, in that you don't get there's no despair. The despair is not as pronounced, so you don't have a high, level of suicide. And the way that things are in Haiti, the way that people live, we should have a whole lot more than that. But because faith is there, mentally tough, and all of that, but those are also good characteristics I think one need to use when helping the Haitians deal with their issues. I know you're a tough cookie, so yeah, you can do this. Whatever we can use. I'm not a mental health professional, so I shouldn't go too far into that. I'll leave it at that.
Actually, Dr. Lagour, I was very thrilled when you had a cancellation and were able to join us. Could you give us a little bit of background? You have a lot of expertise, and I hope that, and I want to share your background with everyone.
Oh, well, I think pretty much I'm old. So I'm 68 years old, and I have I was born and raised in Haiti, poor family, almost didn't go to school. Had it not been faith, had it not been for a pastor who came to my village and saw me, and I was already 8 years old, and said to my parents, "Oof, this kid is old, send him to school with my kids in town." So that's how I escaped illiteracy. And then from there, yeah, hunger and all of that, I found my way through finishing high school and attending École Normale Supérieure in Port-au-Prince to become a mathematics and physics teacher. And along the way, my illiterate father told me to learn how to speak English, which, as an 18-year-old, knowing more than my dad was illiterate, so didn't know anything at all. So I asked him, what would I ever do with English? Luckily, he didn't slap me. He was patient with me. And then I learned English and became an instructor at the U.S. Embassy, and got a way to come to the University of Kansas. And then did my master's, a couple of master's degrees and doctorate. And then I had the opportunity to become a community college leader. Went all the ranks to chancellor and all of that, and retired just before COVID. But along the way, because I was always, I always loved my country, but always associated with Haitian Creole or with Haitian people, would always come back home as often as I can, regardless of how dangerous they may say that it is. And then on my mentor, who brought me to the University of Kansas, died February 3rd. He always told me that you don't even go visit. But on February 4th, I landed in Port-au-Prince and returned to Haiti for good. So a part of it wasn't that I didn't just come cold. I moved from California to Texas, from Texas to Miami Gardens, and then so that I could visit Haiti more often. And then by visiting Haiti too often, I find myself here. This is where I should be, and then I'm here. But a big part of it is the appreciation that I have for Haitians in general, the nature of the Haitian people, the love that they share and they have, and the resilience that they have. All of that, I think, are characteristics that, as I mentioned, we should use in helping Haitian refugees really deal with what's going on with them. And I think the point that I came to this country so that I can get something done. So don't tell me that I'm sick and I can't get it done. I think was a great point that Dr. Celestin brought up, which I think is really good for us in dealing with things that should help us tremendously.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Sharing a little bit about your own story as well. So a few things you said too, thinking strategically, I think there have been a lot of really, really wonderful contributions to how we can think strategically about how to address some of the barriers that might come up for Haitian Americans and Haitian refugees in finding and receiving mental health services or supports that are going to be meaningful and are going to be received well and actually result in them feeling better in some way. And so some is, how do you other spaces in the community that are highly regarded and respected and where people go, like you have to connect with the spaces where people are and where they already put a lot of kind of stock and a lot of trust. And so faith communities is a great example of, and so there's like the level of the use and in addition to talking just about stress versus mental health, perhaps really couching things in that resilience framework and being very strengths-based, acknowledging all of the strength and resilience of the folks you're working with sounds really vital. We have a number of hands up, so I'm gonna go Astrid and then Matt and then Gilbert, if I'm saying that right. I don't have confidence that I am, but we'll start with Astrid.
Hey, good morning. Astrid Prudent, Assistant Project Director at the Center of Excellence for Children's Behavioral Health, also a mental health clinician and a mental health educator. So very passionate about this and a first-generation Haitian American, so I love my people. So let's talk about it. In terms of behavioral health, mental wellness, and particularly Haitian people, a lot of what the panelists have said is so correct in terms of our language, which is why education and awareness is so important. The way in which we talk about our mental health, our mental well-being, sometimes is so fluffy that we forget that even the way that we feel is a part of your mental well-being. It isn't, oh, I'm just feeling depressed or I feel super, super crazy. No, I feel great today. That is a part of your mental wellness. And so even from, I want to say it was Miss Yvette and Dr. Annie who talked about it from the health perspective. It's just as when you go into the doctor's office, we know that's a trusted space for most individuals. Oh, I'm going to go to the doctor. Sorry, I was about to say it in Creole. I'm going to go to the doctor's office. Going to the doctor is a more trusted place, which is why that partnership with your healthcare professionals is so important. Oh, I'm going to go talk to the pastor, or I'm going to go to the priest. It's so important that the partnership from the behavioral health aspect with those trusted individuals makes sense. Because whereas as a clinician, I may see one Haitian client in the next 3 months, but the pastor has them every weekend. The doctor might see them once a month. And so if we are more equipped to partner with those safe spaces for our Haitian community, we can ensure a very different level of support. So that when they are experiencing symptoms, when we are seeing hair loss, stress showing up via the way you eat or lack of eating, sleeping, not sleeping at all, having reactions to loud sounds because you were in the earthquake, whatever the symptom may be, instead of wiping it away as, oh, that's just a situation, we can then have a different space to educate and really provide the level of support that's necessary without it being, oh, you're crazy. And the reality is we're not, right? We are a resilient people, but I always like to remind us that there is rest in resilience. It isn't just, oh, we're so strong, we got to fight to the end. We fight, but we also got to rest. You know what I'm saying? And so when we can have that conversation, yes, we're going to have our super but we're going to talk about how do we rest, not just because we want our independence. Let's celebrate that independence by being well, right? And so there's conversations that can happen. I think pivoting conversations to places where it will reach the people is how we'll make some of the greatest impact. Okay, I think that's enough for right now. I'm gonna get off this soapbox. All right.
Thank you so much for all of that. Matt?
That was not a soapbox. That was amazing, Dr. Astrid. So thank you. I loved all of it. It was just a line what I was about to say too, and with Dr. Laguerre as far as going into the community. I'm from South Florida, just moved to Atlanta about 2 years ago, and down in South Florida, we had the opportunity to partner with HANA, which is the Haitian-American, I think, Nurses Association in South Florida, and what we would do as far as some of the mental health and medical professionals down there was we would team up and go into the churches to where as a united front, then they'll take more interest when a mental health provider is being co-signed by a nurse or a doctor or an attorney and the pastor. And so we'd have spaces in the churches where we would be afforded 2 or 3 hours And I promise you, you would not be able to leave when they start to then open up and become validated in their realities that they have been experiencing, but may not have the vocabulary or means of communicating or spaces to then address some of the mental, emotional, physical, spiritual issues aligning with mental health. And so these things are possible. The second thing that I wanted to add to it is that the psychoeducational piece has to be available to not just the, for educators as far as in the school systems, but also healthcare providers and clergy members as well, as far as putting information in front of them, cultural information in front of them, aligning with mental health professionals has to be a part of what we do to then make space for an understanding to then create value when it comes to these services. These services are available, but if they don't value them, then without increasing how they understand it, then they won't interact with it in a healthy way. So that's it.
Thanks. That's so helpful. So thinking of not just about where we can connect in the community, where people go and the spaces people trust, but how we work with our partners in those spaces to maximize the impact that we have and kind of make it as likely as possible that people are going to access services. And so I don't always love the term mental health literacy, but a little bit of what you're talking about is like, providing that psychoeducation, providing that information to folks in a variety of different spaces that can help the people who are already in those spaces and working with folks to be able to have the kind of the same nuance and intentionality in their language that we're talking about all of us having, and then using those opportunities to kind of provide some psychoeducation, funnel folks to services where they can continue to get really valuable support and help. That's really meaningful contribution. Thanks. We have an audience member with a hand up, and so and then to Ronald, to Gilbert. I definitely am not saying it right, but please.
Thank you. You're close, Gilbert Sebastian, but I go by Gigi.
Gigi.
First of all, I want to thank you all for this panel and the conversation. I really agree with and endorse a lot of what my colleagues have said. I'm a clinical psychologist by training, Haiti-born, U.S. raised psychologist, and so I do work with our community here in Georgia in the area of mental health through my role as faculty at Morehouse School of Medicine. But what sort of stood out to me in listening to a lot of what has been shared is that I want to make sure is highlighted is the importance of the identity component that is shifted and impacted in the migration process of our folks coming in, and the work that I've done at an individual level and to some extent at a community level. I think when we talk about it, someone earlier referenced sort of grief around grieving the island, grieving Lakai, grieving home, but also the identities therein, right? So how people's sense of themselves and how that shifts through the process of moving, leaving home and coming here in the US. And so I think that's an important part of the work that doesn't always get due time and emphasis of really sitting with and getting to understand people's stories and what their realities and lives were in Haiti, what pieces of that we can support them in touching and reigniting and reconnecting with here becomes really important. So for folks for whom, the spirituality piece, which several people have raised, is really important. Are there ways that we can support them with getting connected with the religious or spiritual community? For folks who were involved, and we now, especially over the past couple of years with the issues around instability, we have a lot of folks, professionals who have left Haiti because of the insecurity issues and have come here, but are not able to move back into the areas of work that was such a prominent piece of their lives, right? And so how do we help people to touch that in some way? Maybe it's not that I can immediately be a medical doctor again, but are there ways that I can get in that arena of healthcare? Are there ways that I can be doing community health education, leveraging the knowledge and the experience that I have? So I think also having that perspective, because there's so much of the migration process that's disempowering. And so I think that can be a really important way of empowering and helping folks to see how to draw from those assets and those supports that they have. The other sort of broader kind of frame piece that I think is important, because I think you, Dr. Olakan, raised the issue of what might be unique to this particular immigrant refugee community as opposed to others. And I think that's sort of the racialized stressed or the race-related components affecting the migration experience of Haitians in particular. And I think it's not lost on our people who come in from Haiti that theirs is a different experience compared to other groups in ways that make it perhaps unnecessarily difficult for them to adjust and to resettle, right? There's certain burdens that they have taken on, and they also in many ways are having to sort of learn how to dance in new ways around what it means to be Black in this space. And so I think that is an often sort of lost piece of this too. It's one thing to be Black in a Black nation where everyone in all leadership spheres look like you, and then coming into this context in the US, in Georgia in particular, and understanding what that means, how it will be viewed, what are the assumptions therein, and how does that dictate how I move. So I think making room for that as a part of the conversation is something I found to be helpful with our folks. And then I just really want to reiterate the things that folks have been saying about community, thinking about community level and thinking about fostering connection to community. I think that's especially important in the Georgia context, because when my family migrated in the early 90s, it was to South Florida, which many of our panelists are from, where there's a very prominent and well-developed Haitian community. And so it's easy to see reflections of home all around you. It's harder here in Georgia, where the community is dispersed, they're really spread out. And so being intentional and strategic about helping people find and connect with community is especially important, I think, here in the Georgia context, because it's harder to feel community here in the ways that we do in Miami and Boston and New York. So that community perspective and being intentional about that work, I think, is important with our folks. So I'll stop there. Thrilled to be with you all.
Thank you so much for all of that. Those are such helpful additions to this conversation, really taking the time to get to know the people you're working with and understand their identities, past and present, and what it means to them to have had the experiences that they had in Haiti, what it means to be living in their skin and in their experiences here in this country and in Georgia, as you're saying. I see my internet is unstable, so I'm gonna toss it to Ronald before I freeze, but I might reflect more later. Ronald, please.
All right, I didn't go out just yet, so no, my comment is really related to something Gilbert, I think Dr. Gilbert, I'm not sure if I'm getting the title correct, alluded to about the community and what everybody else has been talking about. Really more so along the lines of, there's an opportunity for us to even look at doing this when we talk about the community on a larger scale in relation to the local government. And as the chamber, I'm coming at this from the chamber stance sometimes of some of the things that I see, and even somewhat from the education stance too, because I'm in education as well. There is sometimes when it comes to access to some resources and healthcare or any kind of social services, one thing that we typically have to deal with, and not just Haitians, really any immigrant community, or you're dealing with refugees, is them making sure that they're in a trusted space, which has already been said, because there is that fear of the immigration issue, right? Some of them might be here, might feel like they're here illegally. And so there is the trying to keep a low profile. And I used to work at another state university here in Georgia. A lot of the, community that were undocumented, they wouldn't even bother putting applications into the university because they were fearful that they'd be found somehow, some way the university is tied into the government, and anything that they put their name out there, they're going to be found out. And so it's really hard sometimes to reach some of those communities in a sense because there is that fear of their immigration status, or they know somebody or somebody connected to them might be found out. And so I think that's just, I don't think it's the main thing, but I do think I want to point out that there is a community or a demographic there that, you know, sometimes might not get access to the service because they're just fearful of reaching out and being connected. So that, I think that needs to be put out there a little bit more. I think that just depends on where you are and maybe the politics of the state. Whatever. But that is something that I think needs to be put out there because there are services and there are universities here in the state of Georgia where, for example, you can go and apply and your immigration status doesn't matter because you can actually still take advantage of some of the educational resources that are there. What I was leading up to actually is that there is a program called, I believe it's I Speak ATL, which I thought was a very unique program, and they provide interpretation services for a lot of people that speak different languages, so they can get access to services around the city or within the community. And I thought it was very interesting, and it was a pretty cool and unique, well, not unique, but a pretty cool thing that they launched here in Atlanta because we are a growing diverse community here in Metro Atlanta. One of the other things that I found that was very interesting, and I think even the city thought was very interesting, was that the second most requested language in Atlanta was Haitian Creole. So people that were looking to actually take advantage of these services, they needed Haitian Creole. So that was a big shocker for us. And I think even the city at large, because that was something that we weren't expecting. But as I said earlier, Haitian Americans are the, oh, I don't think I said this earlier. Maybe I said this somewhere else. But Haitian immigrants are actually the second largest Caribbean population here in the state of Georgia. And so, contrary to what a lot of people believe, Georgia has a very large growing Haitian population. And so these are some things that we really need to consider and things that we really need to have on our radar. And I'm saying this to all the professionals on the panel, just to put you all on notice. We got to get ready for this, and we really need to make some moves to take advantage of this because what's happening is we're actually now becoming one of the places where Haitians are immigrating to directly from Haiti. That wasn't the case many years ago, right? This was more of a place where people came here, Haitian Americans came here after they settled down, maybe, more so progressing in their careers, coming here for opportunities. So you had a different demographic of Haitians that were living here at first. But now we're becoming the city, and there's an increase in those that are coming directly from Haiti, and they're choosing Atlanta or Georgia, I should say, as their first stop. Very different from a place like Miami, New York, which are like the capitals of Haiti outside of the U.S. But that's something we really need to consider. But I do think that that I Speak ATL program is something that all of us should really look at for any immigrant in general. That we need to attach these the mental health services and the therapy services to this actual program because it makes the local government seem a little less, how can I say that? Intimidating. Like they don't want to approach the government offices because they don't know what to expect, but it makes it look more welcoming in that like, hey, there is a community here. If I do need to reach out to anybody in the Haitian community or I need some services, this is where I can go. Because I'll tell you that the chamber, the Consulate General's office of Haiti here in Atlanta, and probably the churches, these are probably like the three institutions typically that get reached out to, and we get people all the time calling, asking for specific things, which we're okay with because we have a pretty large network, people that are looking for certain things when they first get here. But one of the things I do want to make sure that we take advantage of, especially for the panelists on this call, is to really plug yourself into some of these networks and these programs so it's easier and accessible for these people that are coming from different backgrounds, different situations from the country to get adjusted here in Georgia and Metro Atlanta.
Thanks so much. So I think some of what you're highlighting, it's great, you know, some of the questions we were going to get to that have just kind of emerged naturally in this conversation are around both the barriers that might be specific to Haitian immigrants seeking health and mental health care services or encountering or, you know, reaping the benefits of services, and also the strategies that we might employ to address barriers. And so you brought up a really important one, which is just kind of like the perceived risk of engaging with certain settings that feel kind of official or intimidating, or like there might also be a lot of potential risks of like really profound destabilization in life if they kind of make themselves visible. And so thinking about how
Nope, Dr. LaKine froze.
I think it finally happened. All right.
I'm gonna fix her internet one of these days, I promise. Go ahead, Dr. Alex. Or Natalie, go ahead.
Yes. Hi. Okay. Just to piggyback on a few things everybody has said. So I am Natalie. Doleon is my birth name. And so I was born in Haiti, came to the US at 8, Boston first, Dorchester. And then at 13, my parents moved to Atlanta. So kind of like Ronald said, and this is in the 80s, we moved to Atlanta, Georgia in 88. And so everybody we only knew Haitian people. We connected with Haitian people because there was a group that my parents were a part of, Haitian group. And it was primarily people who moved from Miami, moved from Boston, moved from New York, and then here we are in Atlanta. So it's interesting to hear that people coming straight out of Haiti is coming to Atlanta, because that is different. And so one of the things in terms of the connecting, which is what everybody have said, connecting to the faith pop community and connecting to different organization that caters to the Haitian people. And for me, I did get married, so my name has shifted to Ellis, but I make sure that, and I have a private practice. So I am in an isolated kind of arena. So one of the things that I do to make sure that people are aware is I do talk about my Haitian roots. I do put my Haitian flag in everything that I do professionally, so that when people are seeking, you know, in my Psychology Today, on my website, on my Instagram, Facebook page, what you see is Haitian, right? And so if anybody is seeking mental health, oh, there's a Haitian person here who's offering mental health and who can speak Creole and who could connect, who they could connect with. Because I think that's the other piece, is because in Atlanta it has felt it's disconnected, and so making sure that people know, you know, because to some extent, if I'm walking, people aren't going to know that I'm Haitian. So there's got to be things, especially in the professionals in my profession, that I'm saying that I'm Haitian, so people know to reach out for me. And that's been a lot of how I've gotten my Haitian clients, and people know to reach out to me. Hey, I noticed your flag, or I noticed this, I noticed that, and we're seeking people. And so, yeah, it's important. The psychoeducation is connecting to the different groups of communities that caters to the Haitian population. And I'm glad to hear about the DeCap with Ms. Joseph and Dr. Wuza. All that stuff is out there. And so, you know, figuring out ways that I could plug in, because that's all I could do in terms of, from my perspective as a mental health therapist, licensed professional counselor, which I've been doing for over 20 years, is to connect to different agencies that work with that population and to offer my services. And the more we offer services, the more we do the psychoeducation from both our individual perspectives, then people become more aware. And then once they sit with us, because once they sit in front of us, it's to get them where they need to be, right? And so being able to be attuned with them and meet them where they're at is so important. So the language, like we've said, the language, making sure we don't scare them, making sure we're attuned to the culture, attuned to what's happening, hear their stories, because that's our job as therapists. You know, if nothing else, I tell people is to just be here, to listen to what you have to say, and from there, help 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 you work through whatever it is you need to work through, because that's ultimately it, whether it's the emotional piece, the physical piece, to help you get to whatever resolve that people need. And so I'm happy to be a part of this panel, and it's great that this is something that's being done, and the ongoing conversation in regards to Haiti because we know we need all the conversation we could get to get people out there. Because like Dr. Joel said, Dr. Laguerre, we are strong people, and that's the first thing I tell anybody. Because there's a perception of Haitians too. That's how people know we're strong people. That's why we're still here, no matter how small this island look. This I tell people often. The island is no bigger than probably Decatur, Georgia. So it's a little small island, right? But we're strong people from this island, and we're everywhere, and we continue to thrive, we continue to survive. But at the same time, like Astrid said, it's important to rest, it's important to acknowledge our wellness, it's important to acknowledge our mental health, it's important to know that we're tired and to rest in that moment. It's important to say, oh, you know what, I don't feel so well, and let me do something with that, because we have to do both, right? We don't stop, we still get up, we still got to get up and go, right? But at the moment, if something is going on, we got to acknowledge what's going on, because if not, it's a pile. And this is what we get, which is the buildup, right? I tell people, when we're ignoring what's going on, then it's a pile up of things. We dismiss it, we invalidate it, we just piles. And it's that pile that's now we're carrying, right? We continue to carry that pile. And that's the pile that gets very, very heavy. And so, and I speak of it in that way. I'm very hands-on with clients. I give them homework assignments, just basic things to help them understand how this affects this and how this affects this, so they can get it. And yeah, so really excited about this work, and excited about all the work that everybody's doing to make sure that, you know, we get we continue to heal and move forward. So thank you.
Thanks so much for that. And I see your hand up, and then I also want to invite other audience questions, and since we have about 15 minutes left. So Anne, go ahead, and then I'll monitor hands from other folks.
Thank you. I wanted to add that when I moved here in 2020, I wish I met all of you, because I, coming from Haiti, I needed help. And I moved from Haiti to Atlanta, and like all of you said, in Atlanta, we don't have that Asian community to support our folks when we come here. And I had my husband and his family, which helped me a lot, going through all the process, getting my paper, going back to school and everything. But like you all said, we need that Asian community to help our people when they come here, and then like help them with mental health, help them like get their paper, help them, I don't know, with whatever it is they need help with, because I felt like if at that moment I had all of you, I will be more open to speak about what I was going through. So Asian, we are like kind of, we don't talk to our problem to people, but we talk to our problem to our people. So if we have that community and we can help those people, they will be more open to talk about anything they want, and then we will be able to help them go into that process. So we need to spread the word, and then let them know that there's community, there's people that can help them go through this process. They don't have to do it by themselves, because I know I had a really like lovely husband, and his family, they were a really good support for me, but other people don't have that. And we really need to let them know that there's community. I don't remember the thing that when I talk about that organization, let them know that we are here for them, and we are here to help. That's all I wanted to have.
Yeah, thanks so much for that perspective. It sounds like some of what folks are saying, is just like this conversation in itself is doing a lot to strengthen the connections that it sounds like are really important to keep building and strengthening and weaving together in Atlanta and in Georgia, because even though there's a really large Haitian population in the state, it might be the case that I mean, it sounds like it's the case that it's a much less connected and networked community than in somewhere like South Florida. And so thinking about how we just kind of keep building on this conversation to keep strengthening those networks and keep strengthening connections and do things, you know, if they're like Natalie, I appreciated your
Oh, Dr. LeKind, your internet. It's going to be the death of me. Go ahead, Ron.
Well, you know, I wanted to take this opportunity, and Han, I really appreciate that. I mean, very touching, and I could really hear in your voice and in your story, you know, what that experience was like. And, you know, I really don't like hearing those stories because, you know, as somebody in the chamber that did get connected, even when I first came to Atlanta, I was looking for the Haitian community. I actually ran into the chamber by mistake. I was actually trying to find the consulate general's office because I said, oh, I Googled Haitian something. I said, oh, it's this consulate general's office. Let me drive over there. And so I'm driving, and then I tried to stop my GPS, and I tried to put it in, and then I found Georgia Haitian-American Chamber of Commerce. I was like, oh, that's interesting. So I drove over to the address. I met the president there. I always tell people the story. His name is Sorel Ketan. He's this crazy guy that forces me to, you know, not forces me, but it really got me involved in, but that's how I got plugged into the community. And we do get calls, again, a lot of people trying to find resources and connect. How can I find this? I need a job here. Who can you connect me with here in the healthcare industry? So I wanted to take the opportunity actually to invite everybody on the call, all of the Haitian professionals, and even, of course, the GSU Prevention Research Center to, you know, let's look at what this would look like of creating that community and the ecosystem. So when somebody does land in Georgia or Atlanta, we can be that network and be that support and that family that Han had to make sure that that transition is easier for them. And so we don't have to do it now, but definitely please send me your information. Let's connect. I know I have Natalie's information and Matthew's. So even when they mentioned mental health, I was like, oh, I know, I already got my folks. I already know them. I reached out to Natalie and Matthew, but we need to grow that because, you know, I want to make sure that there's that space for those folks as the community is growing here, so people don't feel like they don't know where to turn, or at least there's a few networks that are very prominent that we can put out there and say, hey, just go here, and we'll be able to plug them into, you know, Astrid, Naika, whoever, so they are well connected and get the resources that they need. So I just wanted to take that opportunity and make sure before this call ends that everybody we connect, and you know, we make this ecosystem work for everybody.
Thank you. That's exactly where I was leading before my internet cut out once again.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, thanks for reading my mind. Any other audience questions or comments?
So I actually have a kind of like segue to what we're talking about now. So the MHA is you know, we're building everything that we're doing. So what are some ways that all of you would recommend to kind of tap into the community? I know Dr. Beston put in the chat that it's more difficult to tap into. What are ways that we can do to establish ourselves in the community so that we're getting the people and tapping into the people that actually need help?
Yeah, I think everyone kind of alluded to the community and family involvement. I think that's very central. Just the family system approach, and then just building rapport with community leaders and just stakeholders, because Haitians consumes a lot of information, and the information that they're receiving are from trusted members of the community, whether it's religious leader or radio personnel. If you're a Haitian, there's at least one person that listens to the radio all day. You know someone that listens to that. So like just building partnership with like key players in the community, that they will pass the information on their platform, because there's already an established relationship there. They'll be more open and receptive.
Thanks so much for that, Naika. And I see Dr. Bastien made a comment in the chat. We can start with the network here and then tap into our broader networks, which I think that's the dream. And it's really exciting to see so many people not just on the panel, but in the audience who are a part of this community and are in the field of mental health and have so much to add. So again, this is a really promising start to strengthening this network. Any other audience or panelists, truly just any questions or comments from anybody participating in this conversation?
I was just going to echo how much I enjoyed this. And I want to speak of a positive experience. You know, I think sometimes we just focus on what's not possible or what we're trying to get to, but some of the positive experiences I've had when I traveled to Haiti after the earthquake and seeing some of the clients here in the States in South Florida, one of the most, I think, positive experiences that I've had was their acceptance of us. When I say us, I'm talking about the diaspora, those who weren't born in Haiti. I mean, they received me, and I joke about this with my C- Creole because I wasn't born in Haiti and I don't speak Creole as fluently as I'd love to. But man, they accepted me wholeheartedly, and it made me feel so good because there's something here in the States where we kind of reject each other based on our level of Creole or French speaking, and we kind of have some type of caste system even based on language. But I think that was helpful for me as a clinician, seeing how open they were to work with me at the level of Creole. As long as the attempt was made, they welcomed it, they appreciated it. And I think that would be wise for all of us not to feel any particular way about where our Creole is, because I know mine is, like I said, isn't the best. If we make that effort, they will welcome us and receive us with open arms as far as trying to provide services for them.
Thank you. That's such a lovely reflection. Dr. Bastian, I see your hand up.
Thank you for that. And I do want to apologize that I am not able to turn on my camera. I am at home roughing it and would like to spare you all the trauma of what's going on today. So, but I did want to take advantage while I have this audience and given the topic to share an initiative that I'm co-leading for us at Morehouse School of Medicine, which is to train Haitian-American young adults to serve as community mental health workers. And so what we recognize is that there are not enough of us, of the Natalies, of the Matts, of myself, who have that dual sort of cultural connection and also the training in mental health. And so we're working to train up this sort of pipeline effort to start working with our young folks to introduce them to the field of mental health and also supporting them in doing basic level community mental health education and those kinds of things. So that's an active program that we are doing, and we are now doing it across 4 sites. So we have a Miami organization, a Boston partner, a New York partner, and then here in Atlanta, it's the International Women of Hope who are a partner. And we have had the hardest time here in Georgia, to that point that we have the least developed Haitian community here. We have had the hardest time identifying 10 Haitian American young adults between 18 and 24 years old to take part in this program. They get a certificate as community health worker at the end of the 6-month training. They get $1,000 stipend. They get to learn about community health work as a profession and all kinds of things. And we're just having a hard time finding them. Whereas Miami, Boston, and New York have more than the 10 per site that we've asked for. And so I dropped my email in the chat. So if anyone knows young folks who are interested in mental health and psychology and social work, et cetera, who might want to be a part of a program like this, please reach out. We're trying to do what we can to grow at the community level the workforce that we need to address the mental health challenges of our community for us, by us, in ways that make sense, right? And so would love to talk to anyone more about that after this.
All you had to do is say a word.
Word.
I got your email. I'm going to be reaching out to you, Julie. Thank you for sharing that opportunity and what you all are up to.
Awesome. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I'm hoping my internet's not gonna cut out again. What I was actually trying to say when I cut out last time was just to that point is, we're trying to make sure that folks who have mental health expertise and those professional degrees and are from the community are available to provide services, and that folks who are not from the community approach serving Haitian Americans and Haitian refugees with competence and with humility. And there are so many opportunities, as others have said on this conversation, so many different ways to equip many, many, many more people in the community to promote mental health, to provide support. Okay, I see my internet's unstable. Pass it up.
Do we have any other questions as we're wrapping up? Or any other comments from the panelists? I'd love to hear from you guys, just any final words. Anyone?
I'm not sure how you found me, but I'm glad that that
It
I
was a
was found.
a lot of research. I reached out to a lot of people, I have to say. I spent a very
Th-
long time, but
yeah,
I'm so
thank you
glad.
for thank you. This was an honor to be here with so many distinguished fellow Haitians and those who are also supporting the Haitian community. Thank you for the work that you do. And you can call on me anytime. I'll be happy to participate and give my perspective.
Thank you so much, Dr. Licker. We're so happy that you were able to make it. Any of the other panelists have any final words to say?
Yeah, I wanted to say thank you as well. Enjoyed myself, especially sharing the stage with this panel. So Val, big shout out to you and the team and Dr. LaKine for really putting this on. I want to make sure that I am connecting with everybody here as well, because I would like to, this is something that is a conversation that's been had, I'd say, within the chamber. I just was not connected to that many professionals in the space. And so now that I see you all coming out of the woodwork, I would definitely love to shed some more light about it, make sure we build an ecosystem around this and actually package this all together and bring this to the community and to our members somehow, some way. So I'm definitely going to be reaching out to some of you all. Val, I really thank you for organizing this. This is amazing. And Matt and Natalie, they're already part of the chamber community, so I'm going to be leaning on them to and bothering them to, to create some initiatives around shedding more light and bringing more opportunities for people to take advantage of the resources and really take care of their mental health in this space. Because I will say that is one of the struggles that we've seen, especially people coming over here as entrepreneurs. There's already a whole level of stress that they're dealing with, but also adjusting and really taking it into consideration that their mental health is playing a role in whether they're going to succeed or not and how they're able to contribute and give back to the community. So I want to really take the opportunity to thank you all again, Georgia State and the team there, and looking forward to seeing what magic we can make happen in the future.
That's great. Actually, next week we will hopefully be launching our website, and we'll have all these recordings on here, this one as well as the previous ones. And I also took down everybody's contact information. Building the networks through these webinars has been amazing, and I've been able to contact so many people, and I want more to come out of it. So I definitely look for opportunities to and any advice on how we can build these webinars from something beyond just, these recordings, because I think that they're valuable and they're building networks. So many of you guys have, gotten to know each other, and that's been just wonderful. Do any panelists have any final words before? I know we're going a little over, but the conversation has been incredible. This honestly has been the best webinar that we've hosted. Well, I want to thank all of you just for participating. I know it was long, and it was an hour and a half. It was the longest webinar we've ever had. I have to say it's been the most successful webinar. You guys just shared so much invaluable information. It's an absolute honor to meet all of the panelists and to have spent this time with you and to have gotten to know you and to have shared so much. I really, like I said, want to make sure that we continue to connect and that we stay connected. The MHA is working on so many different programs to try and stay helping the community. And we want to make sure that everybody gets involved and then just, continue to network. But again, thank you all so much. An absolute honor. And I have been thrilled by the response from the audience, and thank you to the audience as well. And everybody just have a wonderful day. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you all for putting this
Thank you.
together.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.